Hi guys, welcome to Vesna TV. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today is all about pumpkins and I'm creating
5.
different pumpkin themed DIYs. This first DIY is super easy and super inexpensive to make. I'm just using some fall colored balloons, some moss, some artificial snow, and some twine to make really cute little pumpkins. And of course, hot glue. So just So to start, I'm just sorting out the balloons, picking out the colors that I want. I'm just using orange ones. I was hoping there would be white in these packs, but I didn't have any white. Now I do wind up finding a white balloon, but it has a Canada flag, so I just flip it inside out. Now this is so versatile because you can make pumpkins any colors that you want, especially if you have like a different theme that you're going with for fall. So you start off by cutting the tops of the balloons off, and then you just stretch it out and stuff it with the snow. It's actually a little bit deceiving as to how much snow you can fit into these balloons. You can fit quite a bit in there, and you just want to keep on stuffing until you get it to be nice and firm, and also the size that you want. So if you want it to be a little bit bigger, you stuff a little bit more. If you want it to be a bit smaller, you can stuff a little bit less, but the idea is to make it pretty firm so that way when you're doing your finishing touches, it doesn't squish too much. So once you're done stuffing, then you want to push the top of the balloon inside, kind of like push it with your finger inside, and then that's where your stem will go. And sorry, I did forget to mention at the beginning of the video, you do need some stems. So what I just did, I just took a little branch from my garden and I just cut it into little bits, and that's what I used for my stem. So I used the stem to push the balloon in so I could kind of flip it in. And then I wrapped the twine around it. Now I did do it two different ways, so this is the first way of doing it. So I just take the twine and I just wrap one loop around and I tie it. Then I wrap another loop and then another loop and then another loop to give the illusion of kind of the grooves that the pumpkins have. So I haven't done a challenge or a collaboration in a long time, so this is a part of the DIY collab that Domestic Diva DIY does. So Sonia over at Domestic Diva hosts these challenges every so often, and I think it's monthly. And she is one fantastic lady. If you haven't checked her channel out, I will have it linked in my description below. She's also got a cooking channel, a home channel, and she has her new vlog channel. So if you haven't checked them out, check them out. She has awesome DIYs, great recipes. She has a beautiful house, so you get lots of inspiration. And she's the queen of organizing, so check that out as well on her home channel. And I love watching her vlogs because she's got Duke and Frank, which are her little puppies, and I love watching them. So they're not very little though. They're just puppies, but they're not little. So if you haven't checked it out, I will have her Domestic Diva DIY channel linked, and in there you can find all of her channels. Make sure you do check her out. And also check out the playlist because there's going to be a playlist and there's going to be lots of pumpkin themed inspiration. So back to the DIY, I hot glued the stem. I kind of pushed it in and then I hot glued it on top of the twine. And then I put a little bit of the moss. I hot glued it to the top of the pumpkin, and that's all there is to these little pumpkins. Really easy and very cute. And I'll show you the different way I did the other one, just so you can kind of pick whatever's easier for you. So for the second one, then I chose to do this kind of like polka dot one. I cut off the top as well. I stuffed it the same way, but it's just the way I wrapped the twine and the way I put the stem, I did a little bit differently. So with this one, what I did was I put the stem in first and then I wrapped the twine around. It really doesn't make a difference how you do it. It's just whatever you find easier to work with. I think this one, because you stuck the stem in there, the stem is a little bit more secure, but at the same time was a little bit trickier to work with because then you had to kind of wrap the twine around the stem. So basically you choose whichever way you want to do this, but again, I just wanted to show you a different way of doing it so that way you can kind of see two different ways and you do your own version. So the white one I'm really loving, but as you can see I had to flip the balloon inside out so to hide the Canada flag, and that's not easy to do. And then I did the same stuff, and here's the finished piece. And here they are displayed. So this next one, I'm just making some pillowcases. Now, I'm not a sewer at all. I try really hard and I put myself out there because I figure there's a lot of people in the same boat who are intimidated by sewing. I finally gotten my sewing machine to work, so I'm very excited. After years of not being able to use it, I finally can use it, so I was really excited about that. So I'm just measuring out my pillowcase. Now, what I wanted you to get out of this DIY was not necessarily a sewing tutorial. I wanted you to see how you can use different materials for making anything like pillowcases or home decor items. You don't have to go out and buy fabric. If you're at the thrift store and you see like a bed sheet or a tablecloth and you love the pattern, you can use any of those things for pillowcases, and you don't even have to sew them. So I'll show you a no sew version down further down the video, but I just wanted you to see kind of a different somebody who's not a seamstress and somebody who's, just does this because I really do want to learn and I think it's such a great skill to have. So, I put myself out there. So please, you know, take this as it is. I'm not a seamstress. I don't have even all of the tools for sewing and whatnot. I don't even have a proper table where I can cut. So as you can see, I'm struggling with cutting. But anyway, try to use a fabric cutter. They cut a little bit better than scissors. I do go back and I fix the edges of these, but I always sew inside out, so when you flip it over you can't see the edge. I'm still working on sewing straight. You'll see that my pillowcases are a little bit wonky, but it's okay. It's my very first on my own sewing project. I've done a few where my mom kind of helped out, but this was on my own, so I'm very proud of it. And so I just measured out a bed sheet. So it was just a white bed sheet that I picked up at Value Village. It was huge. It was a king, I think a California king. So I've used it for a few pillowcases already. And I'm just measuring out the size. Then I go ahead and I iron it. And then I sew the edges and I leave a little bit of an opening. I didn't want to sew it all the way through because I wanted it to be a pillowcase that I could change out seasonally. So what I thought would be a good idea was to sew on the Velcro from the Dollar Tree. So that's what I've done is I've just gone ahead and I've sewn on a piece of Velcro on each side to shut the pillowcase at the bottom just so it doesn't flap open. Once that's done, I go ahead and I use this Hiipoo inkjet transfer paper. It's the like printable iron-on vinyl that they were nice enough to send over to me to give it a try. So I'm giving it a try, and It's really great. It comes in a pack of 10. It's for transfer paper for dark fabric. They're 8.5 by 11 sheets. You use them with an inkjet printer, really easy. And you can even use like an iron to iron them on. You don't need a heat press. So I found some designs, which I can link the website to online, and I'm just transferring them on to the pillowcases. Now what you have to do is you have to cut them out to the way you want them to be, and then like as close to the edge as you want, and then you remove the back. And for dark transfers you don't have to mirror it, because you put the once you take the vinyl off of the backing, then you just put them down face up, whereas not backwards like that, but face up. When you do iron them on, you want to make sure you use the waxy paper that they've included in the package to transfer it. The package did come with this waxy paper and a transfer paper, which is great. So if you have like a really fine design that you're doing, that way that helps. With the heat press, I am using my Cricut heat press 165 degrees for 30 seconds. 165 Celsius for 30 seconds. It does have Fahrenheit on the package too. And then it was supposed to be for darker fabric. I did use it on lighter fabric, and then I went ahead and I used it on this darker fabric. Again, removing that back, putting it face up, and then ironing it on. This is just the second pillowcase that I made with half of it white, half of it brown, just so you could see the difference of what they look like on each fabric. So as you can see, the particular design did work on light and dark fabrics, but it does say it's just for dark fabrics, so make sure you use it just for that if you want to be certain that it works. And here are the pillows completed. So I wanted to show you this one because I'm thinking maybe there are a few of you that are like, Vesna, I can't sew straight. I don't want to try sewing. I don't have a sewing machine. I hate sewing. But I love pillowcases and I don't want to have to always buy them because they can get pricey. So I thought I would show you a different way. So I bought these two dish mats from the Dollar Tree, so $2. And I'm going to make an actual pillow out of them, not even just a pillowcase. I'm going to make a pillow out of them. A no-sew pillow, so I'm hot gluing all of the edges here with my hot glue, obviously inside out, and then I'm flipping it over and I'm stuffing it with some bags. So the reason I'm doing it inside out is so that you can't see the glue or any of the imperfections, and then that way it is perfectly done and it looks like a perfect seam. So like I said, here it is finished. If you wanted to have like really sharp corners, you should do it the right way in, because sometimes these corners are a little bit rounded. So if you want a really sharp corners, then you do it the other way. But here it is, perfect little pillow. Don't have to worry about cutting or sewing or anything like that. You just use your hot glue. You just can't wash these then if you're using the hot glue. That's the only kind of downside. I'm sure you could, but it might fall apart. And then just take any old bags and stuff them to your liking and glue it shut, and that's your little pillow. I think this one will be a great little outdoor pillow to have on my front porch just as decor, and or even inside, it doesn't really matter. But I think it turned out really great. So here it is. Now this next DIY, I wanted to show you that you can use printable iron-on transfer paper on other things other than fabric. And this was my first time trying it. I had heard that you could use it. I've never tried it before. So I wanted to try it and see kind of how I like it. So to begin, I'm using this bamboo cutting board from the Dollar Tree. Again, a dollar, very cheap. Well, $1.25 because I'm in Canada, but if you're in the States, it's a dollar, but around a dollar. And I am staining it with the Rustoleum Decorative Glaze in Java. If you guys watch my channel, you know that I use this glaze all the time. So I'm just staining it and letting it dry thoroughly before I apply my design. Again, I found a free printable online, which again I can share with you in the description below, and I am just cutting it to size. Obviously it's too big, so I'm just cutting out the truck, and I wanted to use one of the letterings in the bottom. I iron it on and then decide that I want to use a different one because I didn't like the way the one part ironed on, so you'll see kind of a different design in the end. But I cut out the truck as close as I can. I tried cutting it with my Cricut originally, but my Cricut wasn't cooperating. I think I need a new blade. So I think I need to change the blade because it wasn't cutting through all the way. So that's what I'll have to work on next. But I just cut it by hand. And a lot of people don't have Cricuts, so shows you that you can do it by hand too. You just have to be careful. Now I'm cutting as close as I can to the truck, but leaving like a little bit of a white edge around, especially at the top where the pumpkins are. And just trying to make it look as nice as I can. So it's the same process as you would do for the fabric. You cut it out, you position where you want it, then you remove the back and you put it on your piece that you're ironing on, and then you want to use the transfer paper, and then you transfer it at 165 degrees Celsius for 30 seconds. However, I found some tricks to this. So I found that maybe that was a little bit too hot. Now it could be two different reasons. Was it a little bit too hot, or I should have used the Teflon paper that I have. So I bought Teflon paper for ironing on shirts and stuff like that. And maybe if I had used that, it would have protected it a little bit more. I just found that the vinyl crumpled up a little bit, but I think it was just the way I think it was too much for that little piece. So maybe it was too long. I held it on too long. I'm not sure. But the second piece was a little bit better, and I used 150 degrees Celsius, and that worked a little bit better. So not a little bit, that worked better. So here it is with the first piece. So I did it with the transfer sheet with the wax sheet that they gave you. Again, 165 degrees, and I iron it on. So as I said, because I didn't like the way the first one looked, the writing, the truck was fine, just the writing was a little bit off. And like I said, maybe I put more pressure, it was just too hot, but I used a little bit of a lower setting, and I did the second part, and there it is. It would have looked nicer, this writing, if it was cut with my Cricut, but that's okay. This looks okay. It just looks like a little sign. And I am adding some of this jute rope. It's just a colored jute rope that I found at, I think, Dollarama. This is from Dollarama, which is our version of like Dollar General. It's not everything's for $1. These ones were $1.25, but it's funny because when Dollar Tree came around, I believe that they put their prices to $1.25, so they would match Dollar Tree. So anything that used to be $1 was $1.25. It's kind of funny. And now when Dollar Tree raised their prices to $1.50 here, Dollarama raised their prices to $1.50. It's funny. But anyway, they have things for more than $1.25 or in $1.50. So they have similar items. Sometimes they'll have more expensive things because they do go up to $4. But anyway, they had this, so I picked it up, and I'm just putting it around the frame of this little sign, and I'm loving it. And I love that I've learned how to do this. Now I was a little bit nervous of ironing on wood, but I'm really glad that I tried it because this looks great, and the possibilities for Christmas and Halloween are endless when you can do this. So basically the iron-on is really easy to use, it's versatile, and I'm really happy with the Hiipoo brand. It did a great job. It didn't like rip anywhere. It was really great when I was taking it off. I didn't have to use the transfer paper if I didn't want to, so that's great. It means it's durable. I've had iron-on where that looked more like a sticker, so this definitely looks like like vinyl, so I really like it. So thank you again, Hiipoo, for sending it over. I'm really happy with it. I hope you guys like this too. I think this is a cute little sign. So here's the finished piece. This next DIY is easy, inexpensive, and again, super versatile. So what I'm doing is I am using a bed sheet and a tablecloth to make some fabric pumpkins. The bed sheet, as you can see, is not fall themed. It's a car themed one. I'm making some pumpkins for my boys. My boys love Halloween and fall. They love pumpkins and they love cars. So I found this sheet at Value Village and I picked it up, and they love their pumpkins. So I'm really excited. And then I'm using also this tablecloth. I just loved it because it had like the fall theme, but as a tablecloth it would be too much because the pattern is very lively. So what I'm doing is I cut off a piece, and it just depends how big you want to make your pumpkin. And I made the top a little bit wider than the bottom, and I hot glued it inside out again. So once you get that to size and you cut off kind of this has frilly edges, so I cut those off too. And you hot glue it, then you can get your twine. So you're going to need twine. All you need is some fabric and twine or jute rope for this, and an elastic and some stuffing. So once I glue it and get it to size, I cut my twine, and you want to cut the twine a little bit longer than your fabric piece. So once you get that going, and you need about 6, depending on how many kind of frillies you want at the end, but about 6 pieces of the twine, which you will tie together in a knot, and then you're going to leave the knot just above the edge of the fabric. Then you will grab the wider edge of your fabric and you're going to tie an elastic. You're going to kind of scrumple everything together, and then you're going to tie an elastic to the top, and then you'll flip it over and making sure you pull out the twine too. So once you have it flipped over, then you're going to stuff it. Now, you can stuff it with artificial snow like I did those first pumpkins. I ran out, so I couldn't use that. You can stuff it with polyfill, with whatever you have as stuffing. You could even do little bags, but these are fairly small, so you'd have to have tiny bags. What I used was an old t-shirt. I just cut it up and I just stuffed it. I have all these old t-shirts that have either stains on them, or my husband is a welder, so he welds, and his t-shirts don't last too long, so we usually cut them up and I use them for painting and stuff like that, or for stuffing. So I have tons of t-shirts that we can't really donate. Well, we can't donate and we can't use, so I use them in my crafting. So I stuff it with the t-shirt as much as I need to. So depending on how big you make these pumpkins, because you could make them big too. I made them fairly small, but you can make them huge. And then you tie the top with your elastic again, another elastic. Just do make sure that you're pulling out the twine up through the top before you tie your elastic, so that it kind of hangs off the top, and that'll be kind of like your dry leafy part for the pumpkin. And then you wrap jute rope around the stem part, so it kind of looks like it has a hard stem. And you wrap it and glue it on. So you glue, wrap, and then you want to make those curly. If you do, you might not want to, but I wanted to make those curly at the top. And what I did was I put some Mod Podge on them, and then I wrapped them around my pencil, and then I just let go, and then it made them a little bit curly. So once I got it to look the way I wanted it to, I wanted to add a little bit of embellishment. So I just have these burlap leaves from the Dollar Tree. They were a bit too big for the design, so I just cut them to the size that I wanted, and I hot glued them to the stem. And then I also added some green leaves to the burlap leaves as well, just to give it a little bit of a few colors on there. And I'm really happy with the way they turned out. So here is the pumpkin, the fall themed pumpkin on its own, and then I'll show you the Hot Wheels ones too, or the car racing cars ones too. So here is the little vignette with all of them. I hope you really like them. I'm really happy with them. I think they all turned out really cute, and they'll look great in my home tour, which I still haven't done, and I said I would do this week, and I ran out of time. I completely ran out of time. I don't know where this week went. But thank you so much for stopping by. Stay tuned for next week for another episode, and this one will be fall and Halloween themed on Sunday. And make sure you leave a comment below. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Thank you so much. Check out the playlist in the description below, and check out Sonia's channel. And also, I've attached the link for the Hiipoo iron-on transfer, so check them out if you'd like. They are on Amazon. And thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great day, and thank you, Hiipoo, for sending those over to me. Bye, guys.